Okay. Hey, Neil, great to see you again.
Hey, Mark. Hey, awesome to be here, man. Looking forward to
I
chatting with you.
I know we were talking a little bit before this, and I can't go without bringing the audience into it. Love the heart behind you. Tell where that came from.
I got this as a Valentine's Day gift for my better half. I wanted to show her that my love will always be eternal for her. And, she likes little keepsakes and mementos. So I think it worked out nicely.
Yeah, and I know it led to the heart I got behind me also, and it led to what could be a bigger conversation, maybe included in here, but how we're starting to connect more with who people are and their authenticity and where they're coming from. That was always there, but maybe not as much as now because people are really looking for that connection. So it is cool to have stuff like that, and and whether it's in front of the person's refrigerator when seeing what's inside the fridge or the paintings on the wall, who knows?
It's interesting because we always worry about like technology and things like social media will make us less human. I actually believe the opposite. I think it actually gives us an opportunity to be more human. Like without this video call, you never would have known about the heart. We never had a conversation about it. Look at your background, same type of thing with your painting. It's actually an opportunity for us to build deeper relationships.
Yeah, what would we do right now without it? And there's no doubt. And not to get too much into side stories because we can go on for a long time. But in my business of search, I used to have to literally go out and meet final candidates for my clients at the airport, at a hotel, whatnot. And the time and the money that was spent doing that, holy cow! Crazy. But I'm super glad to hear. Can you kind of formally, semi-formally introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Neil Sahota, business advisor to several large companies, on the board of directors of several startups, IBM Master Inventor, part of the IBM Watson team before there was a Watson, helped build out the ecosystem, United Nations AI advisor, professor at UC Irvine, and author of the best-selling book, Own the AI Revolution. And now I do feel tired.
This is a new business for extended business cards, how to fit all the information on one business card. No, but you do amazing stuff, and I'm so happy we got to know each other, and I would say become friends, certainly because of the whole AI for good that you're involved in too. We can get into that, but I wanted to start with give credit to Simon Sinek's why type of thing, and for you to share with us your why. Like, why do you do what you do?
I can't really put it into one thing. I grew up, I really credit my parents a lot with instilling a sense of community service and give back. But as far back as I can remember, I've just had this, goal in life that I have to at least leave it as good as I found it, if not better. That's kind of like my duty to the world, to society. And because that's really shaped a lot of what I do. It's not just about being successful and making money. It's about trying to create a positive impact and try and make the people around you better and try and make the world sustainable.
That come from your parents?
I gotta think so. I mean, they definitely had that attitude. They were very big about like helping others and volunteering time, but trying to make a material difference for people in whatever fashion they actually could. And I think they grew up that way because, they didn't exactly grow up in the lap of opulence, but, they grew up in a strong sense of community and helping other people. So maybe I'm just lucky I was born into a great family.
No, it definitely makes an impact, and it was certainly one of the first things that impressed me when we got to meet and had good conversations about you are advancing a lot in a lot of different ways, but it's got to do some good, which is why we're doing a whole Leaders Who Care series about let's recognize leaders who care and why they care and how it could really impact. And it's there's that expression, and it's funny. I don't know why it's never funny, but it's actually taken decades. I've seen it in my own career, taken decades to recognize that aligning a corporate brand or a personal brand, even any brand, with social impact is actually no doubt now a key critical factor was attracting the best talent who only wants to work with leaders who care. But also, it's really good for business and really good for community. And I know some of your background. You know, you were at IBM, and they paired leaders with NGOs specifically for community-driven economic development projects. And I emphasize those two things: community-driven economic development. They come together. I mean, you lived in Ningbo, China, of all places, where you partnered with corporate CEOs, Chinese corporate CEOs, for leadership development, which really caught my attention too, because the way I got to the US was to head up a global leadership development nonprofit. So I'm sure you've met some unbelievable CEOs as leaders, and probably some others who weren't as much. But with that all said, tell us how you became, what differentiates you? I probably gave some of the answer away, but what differentiates you now as one of the leaders who care? And if I can add to that, do you see a global synergy towards caring in general, maybe even specifically related to the SDGs?
Well, I do. I think, it's interesting you bring up the Ningbo experience, because for me, that was, a really powerful, one of those life-changing experiences, right? Being fully meshed, immersed in the culture, living like a local, working like a local. I really got to understand the Chinese culture, right? And see the perspective and realize, they think these ways because not just traditions and cultures, but this is how life has unfolded, and, how they see things. And I've learned that we all have different perspectives, and we all have a different definition of normal. Right? I don't think there's really a normal, but that, I think, really influenced us, because, for better or worse, we kind of fall into the stereotype kind of trap. And that can be the first thing for the truth. We're all actually just people, and we in all our own ways want to help or do good. And I've learned that through these experiences, what really sets me apart is to try and help people figure out what they can actually do to have an impact. I think everyone has that question, like, I want to do something, but what is it? How do I figure that out? Because you think about a problem like climate change, right? It's a huge problem, right? The average person's like, I'm really worried about that, but what can I do as one person? Or even as one country, what can I do? Nobody else does anything. But I really believe that small changes add up. And in the aggregate, that's actually how we move the needle. And so we all have to do our part. I think we want to, but how we figure out what's the right thing that we're willing to do. And interestingly enough, it's times of COVID-19 right now. I'm actually seeing this happen, where you got people helping other people participating in joint research, things that you normally wouldn't see, because we're all unified trying to solve this big problem that's impacting all of us. And I think just showing that these small changes adding up can move mountains, can help us solve climate change, can help end hunger, help make the SDGs a reality.
Yeah, it's so cool that you said that, because it's like anything, if you're going to solve climate change, it's such a big thing that you end up sometimes maybe doing nothing because it's such a big thing. Yeah. And we can get so much fulfillment of just solving point one type of thing. And you're right. And then showing how it ties into everybody else, and it's amazing what can happen when there's an urgency involved, right? Like COVID-19, and how people think that, and I kind of do too, that things happen for a reason, or you take advantage of what happened. We were talking about your parents before and whatnot. I did an article published on LinkedIn, and it was about well-being and different things, but I quoted my grandparents. I'm sure yours and others have said this too. They would always say, as long as you have your health, it's the most important thing. And it was basics. Now, if you consider you're massively in tech, the speed of change in the last 50 years, in the last 10 years, and then you take, including with AI, especially the last few years, and you take what's happening with COVID, as you brought up now, dramatically impacting so many things, social, economic, and maybe awakening us a little bit to like what is important, per se, the grandparents and health. So how do you view the future of work, the future of business, and what you're deeply involved in, also engaging in partnerships to solve the bigger thing?
That's a really good question. And, I like that you alluded to change, because I think the one constant in life is change. It's just, it's happening faster and faster. And I know that a lot of people are worried about, am I going to get automated out of a job? Or is a robot going to take my job? Right? Are we going to have another pandemic? Or we all live inside our houses for the rest of our lives? I'm pretty sure none of those things are really going to happen. Um, I think that the big thing for us is to realize we're going to live in a constant change, constant state of change, and we actually are the drivers for that. Right? I can't remember who said it, but if you want to predict the future, then you build it, right? And I think too many people think, well, other smart people are working on this, I just have to hope for the best. We each have the power to shape the future. It's just a question of, are we willing to take the reins and actually do that, right? We look at COVID-19 right now. It's a horrible thing. It's having impacts in healthcare, the economy. Can we do anything about it? Oh, I'm just some guy sitting at home. Well, I can practice social distancing, right? I can try and spread good information. I can encourage other people, so it creates safety, but I can also innovate, right? I believe in what Winston Churchill actually said once, where a pessimist sees opportunities and finds problems. The optimist sees problems and finds opportunities. And you look at what's going on today, where, okay, yeah, we're doing Zoom calls, video conference calls, we're doing telemedicine, but like you look at the universities, they're always thinking like, well, one day we'll probably go online, we'll probably have like online classes and normal. Maybe that's 15 years out. But then suddenly they were forced into this and they're realizing, well, this is actually working way better than we thought. This is more doable. And now it's opening up other ideas like, well, maybe we could create a more immersive, engaging experience if we have VR classes. Right? It's interesting to go from resisting just like, a canvas or blackboard type of thing to do VR, And I'm also a big believer that by doing these things, we're actually leveraging technology to be more human in a sense. It's actually freeing up some of our time, but it's a chance to be more engaging, right? Like we were talking earlier about the hearts. We couldn't have forged that kind of relationship with a traditional phone call, right? And I think these are the opportunities that are in front of us, but we have to try and make them happen. And as good leaders that care, we have to encourage and empower our employees or staff to take advantage of these opportunities, to give them the freedom to ideate and innovate.
Well, I think the most obvious perfect example is what you're doing for or with AI for good. And that is literally leaders who care, in putting that in front. And to your point about, I had a Deloitte partner told me way back when I started at Deloitte early on. He said, look, if you want to be a partner, start acting like a partner. Don't boss people around. I'm not telling you to do that, but start acting like a partner. Don't wait till you're a partner to act like a partner. Kind of relates to what you're saying. If you're going to basically do it, then do it. But AI for good, which you've been a top driver in, that is, to be honest, the perfect combination. You're creating, you're engaging, you're inventing, you're discovering, and it's going to impact social and economic. Can you talk about it a little bit?
I would love to, because ironically, this started when I was asked to give a keynote in front of the UN, and I was warned. They thought AI is Terminator time. It's going to conquer the world and eradicate humanity. And so I gave a keynote talking about not just what AI is, but how it's actually being used in public service and other opportunities for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually well received. And that evening I was at the reception, and I was approached by some of the key leadership, and they said, Neil, you really opened our eyes up about AI. We never thought of this as a tool to help us accomplish some of the SDG goals. We want to explore this. And out of that came the idea for the AI for Good initiative, where let's build a community, let's build an ecosystem, not just the UN agencies, but academia, private industry, other nonprofits, NGOs, other government agencies, to join forces, collaborate, ideate, bring resources, equipment, money to actually make the SDGs a reality. And, in the span of, it's almost 5 years now, we have 116 active projects going on, all basically volunteer community based. This is the ultimate, create a little awareness, do a little bit matchmaking, let them know what can I do, and empower them to take action. And it's been phenomenal.
Must have been a hell of a speech.
I'll probably go back and look at the recording. I'm glad I was eloquent.
It's kind of like we go back and look at, I wore that. I said that. Or I'll go back and say, man, what happened to it? Stuff like that. But I think it's brilliant what you're saying, because you got to start. You got to start. Whether NASA going to the moon, there's a million other things that came from that, right? You having that opening up a conversation, talking to people, God forbid, being kind. Who would have thought? Things of that nature. And, with respect to my grandparents, again, talking about well-being, who would have thought that we have a client, for example, that is using AI for the special, being able to determine about issues they have with their eyes and diabetes related to that and all that. It's things that would never have been thought of, to do. And I know you're doing that with AI for good. But going back to my grandparents thing, I want to get back to the health a little bit too, and how important that's become, where business leaders are seeing the value in the sense of realizing or being aware of both the financial, the physical, and mental well-being of their people. And it's always said that talent is the number one asset, and it still is at the end of the day. In fact, Fifth Element was named after the Fifth Industrial Revolution, which is declared basically about humanity and being human again. So I'd love for you to give your perspective on what role you see that current and upcoming leaders who care take in recognizing the well-being, financial, physical, and mental well-being of their talent, and why it actually is mutually important to business and also positively impacts, and you get this, all the way into the community.
Interesting question, Mark, because we always say that people are our most important assets, but we often don't seem to actually perform that way or treat them that way.
Right.
And I think that's a big failing for a lot of organizations. The truth is, like you said, you want to get the top talent. Guess what? They're the ones that now think more about like social impact, right? They want to know that I'm not just getting a paycheck, I'm making a difference, right? You'll always have those people that want the fast track to the corner office, and I don't bemoan that in any way.
Right.
But like I look at my undergrad students, they're business majors, right? And I have them work on real world projects. They're always picking something that's social enterprise, social entrepreneurship, right? For them, they want to help make the world a great place, right? Less waste, whatever it might be. And it's like, you want to attract those top students, you have to have that mindset. You want to get the great talent that's already out there from the professionals. Guess what? They're looking for more than just a job. We spend so much time working, it's so integrated with our lives that they want to feel like that I'm creating benefits in other ways. And we've seen that companies that embrace not just corporate social responsibility, but actually empower their employees to do something, morale is higher, their ROI is actually higher, right? They have more engagement. Like IBM is a great example where they very encourage give back. I think if I remember correctly, IBMers give back over 1 million hours, or putting over 1 million hours a year for their time. If you have a project,
great point. Sorry to interrupt. It's a great point. It's not just about money.
Yeah, it's not just about money, right? Sometimes your time, your talent, your knowledge is more important. But like they encourage you to share and post and help you recruit other people that might want to volunteer. I remember that I had a manager at IBM, it was probably like 10 years ago, where he decided he wanted to try and build homes for Habitat for Humanity. And he posted on the IBM community service board and all this kind of stuff. Over 100 IBMers showed up for a weekend to help build houses.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot get that kind of engagement, that commitment, like a better word, the love, by just focusing on the raw profit line, right? It's about the bottom of the line: people, planet, profit.
It's a great point, and I want to even emphasize that it does. We used to talk about life-work balance, and I never understood how you stop life to go to work and then you stop work to go back to life. And it doesn't make sense to me. So now it's all integrated, even more so because of our connections globally. You know, you make it a call from somebody on a Saturday, and it's okay. You have a protocol. What's important. You can call me, but it all goes down. It all flows down into community. And one thing I've learned, and I'd love for you to comment from your experiences all over the world, is the number one thing that fills people's heart and soul has been proven time and time again: belonging to a community.
Oh, look, we're social animals. Like, we want to be part of something, right? And we want to be part of something that we really enjoy and we love. And I think social good is huge for that, because we're helping people. And my good buddy Stephen Kotler always talks about flow and like neurobiology. And he says the best natural high a person gets is by actually helping another person.
Right.
Right? That high lasts longer, it's more fulfilling, and if you do it often enough, it becomes like a norm, right? You always get that endorphins always going. So imagine we could cultivate that kind of culture, that mindset, that constant flow of natural high. How much happier people would be, how much productive we would all be.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not rocket science. It might be AI, but it's not rocket science, and it makes total sense. A couple other quick things. AI for Good's coming to our state, right? Anaheim.
Yeah, we had a little disruption this year, as most conferences
But
do,
it's coming.
but we're planning to bring it next fall, so fall 2021 to Anaheim, California. So, for all of you who have not had a chance to experience it or can't make the trek to Geneva for the summits we've been doing, you'll get an opportunity next year.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fantastic. So now I'm just going to ask you for one piece of advice that you would give to kids, the next generation of people graduating right now, the upcoming leaders who care. What would you say to them as to what now?
Well, what now? I think it's really about small changes, right? Find one thing you are willing to do. It's not like a revolutionary change. What's thing you're willing to do to make a difference, right? Maybe that's adopting or taking in a house plant. Maybe that's saying, like, I'm going to commit to 5-hour showers. Maybe it's like, I'm not going to use plastic. Whatever you think you can do, I encourage you just to do it and share your story, right? Because not only are you going to get that high, you're going to start looking for other things. By sharing your story, you're going to encourage people to do the same. And that's the way we scale, right? Exponential growth. Imagine if you influence 10 people to do something and they influence 10 people to do something. Next thing you know, we've changed the world.
And isn't that cool that in the sense that could actually help you find your next opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. You never know what might happen, right? As you talked about kind of community or tribe, I think as Seth Godin talks about, great way to do it.
Yeah, man. Proud to have you on our series, and as a friend, look forward to doing a whole bunch of great things with you in the future.
Same here, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. We'll talk to you soon. Stay safe, be well, be kind, make a difference.